All right, so I've got Mike Houlie here with me, and he is a professional breaststroke swimmer who has an Olympic past, right?
Yeah,
In Tokyo, is that right?
yeah.
And thanks for coming on here, Mike. And how are you doing today?
No, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm really excited for this. So,
So, Mike and I have a cool relationship as that we both swam for University of Tennessee. And I was '05 to '09, so a little before Mike's time. And Mike, when did you finish up your senior year?
I finished up, I believe it was May, May or April 2023.
Okay, so recently, so last year.
Yeah, and luckily, I mean, I had 5 years instead of the four, just given the COVID fifth year.
Right.
It was I'm happy to take that.
Yeah. Well, now you're setting your sights on Paris, and it sounds like you had quite the journey from uh, when you're being recruited to Tennessee to now, kind of being an alumni and taking a next step. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been a wild journey. Obviously, like so many ups, so many downs, but it's part of the story, you know.
Mhm.
And I think I say this to everyone, coming to Tennessee was literally like one of the best decisions I've ever made. Just to have the opportunity to be right, to be a part of the team, to grow, not only as like an athlete, but also as a person, right?
Mhm.
And to get like a college degree too. It's just been like an absolute blessing. So
So I couldn't agree more, and I think that you hit it square on the head because, when I talk with athletes and non-athletes and clients that I work with, we talk about the process a lot. I've got my master's degree in sports psychology and motor behavior. So I try and dive into the mental side a bit. And, when I say the process, it's kind of like a fad word, in my opinion, now. Stick to the process, trust the process. It's all about the
yeah,
process. But it's true, and to me, the process, it's like, what's your unique snowflake type of journey, like you said, and how can you take an experience, be it just in life or be it a competition, lower end dual meet or an Olympic trial, competition, and view it all in the same way, where you just try to do your best and take it as data and learn from it, and then go back to the lab and continue to improve, right?
yeah,
Uh, so you from South Africa, is that right?
yeah. Cape Town, South Africa.
That's so awesome, man. Now, tell me a little bit about how your process went from like when you were in your teens, like in your high school, teenage years, kind of being recruited and, seeking out that that American college dream.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I'd say I started swimming competitively at quite a late age, right? As a youngster, like I was doing all kinds of sports, right? I
Right.
mean, I was playing soccer, water polo, rugby, right? Just very active kid, right? And I think while I was doing swimming, it just that was always, um, the sport that sort of like calmed me down, right? That sort of brought me um, back to earth almost. I think just being in the water, having that like, sensitivity, right? Feeling the water, that was just really calming as a kid. And so I always loved being in water, right? It was only when I was like, I think 16, 17 years old, where I actually started like taking it seriously, and like going to like big meets and competitions. And then I accidentally broke my first age group record in South Africa. I wasn't even like training during that week. I rocked up and like I broke the record in like the prelims, right? And everyone was like, "Hey, maybe you should start, taking this seriously," right?
Right. Yep.
And and after that, I was like, sure, I'll just continue to, focus on that and just do the best that I can, and obviously that led to me being able to compete for my country internationally, right? And I believe it was um, my junior year of high school where I started connecting with a couple of like the US colleges. It just happened to be that I was in Indianapolis at the Junior World Championships in 2017.
Okay.
And that's where I met up with a bunch of the recruiting coaches, right? And the cool thing about Tennessee was I'm pretty sure they were the first university to contact me. And so they had been there from the start. Right. And I remember just being able to like narrow it down and think, obviously I want the university I picked to be like a home away from home.
Mhm.
And I wanted to find the best fit of coaches, and having that relationship, the team environment, the family, and then obviously as I mentioned, just the home environment too. And then also where I'm literally gonna get a good education too. And so um yeah, I took like a year just to really narrow it down. I went on the recruiting trips and Tennessee, as soon as I stepped on campus, I didn't want to leave. And
Right. Yeah.
um, it felt so natural. I remember visiting the other universities and I was like, yeah, I just want to go back. And so it really was like a no-brainer for me. I think also just after like spending a lot of time praying about it, it became clear and yeah, man. Literally within like a year, just given how the schooling system in South Africa works, we go from January until December.
Okay.
Um, I remember like I had already committed and I was just trying to get through like my exams, just pass them so that like I could hop on a plane,
Just
you
get
know,
out.
literally just get like I finished in December and then I arrived in January mid-year,
There
right?
you
So
go. Now, did you just come and train and get ready for August?
So that was the pivotal point for me. I think that originally was the plan. But the coach that I was working really closely with at the time was Lance Asti, right?
Uh-huh.
And still, I mean, he's still like a mentor to me, and I still stay connected to him nowadays. But he had a conversation with me, just saying, um, the team really needed a breaststroker, a sprint breaststroker,
Right.
um, and I decided, to do what would ever be like best for the team. And so I went straight into it. And I remember my very first dual meet. I think we were waiting for like my exam results. On like I think maybe it was like the Tuesday or the Wednesday, and Friday we drove down to Virginia, competed against UVA, and I remember like my very first race, I won the 100 breast.
Yeah.
And as soon as like that happened, like I went to ACCs, NCAA's as like a freshman, and it was
It
like, yeah, I was like, yeah, this was the right move.
just sparks, right? After that first race. And that's
Oh
kind
my
of
gosh.
how things kind of happen sometimes, right? Where you kind of follow a gut feeling and if go off of your intuition and you feel it out and you're like, well, it's just kind of speaking to me, and then you jump in with 2 feet and opportunities arise and seizing the moment
It's
you
literally, yeah,
know, rolls into a string of events that turns you into like being on fire, and that's
yeah.
that's awesome, man. So coming in mid-year and then crushing it like you did, and then basically so that would be your freshman year, right? You got half of your freshman year.
Yeah.
How was the transition from you know being new to everything and then kind of almost immediately turning into a veteran? Because when you make SECs and you make the SEC team, you score at SECs, you go into 2As, run the relays, you're getting hardware. You are then a veteran in a lot of swimmers' eyes on the team, and it seems like things kind of happened really quickly for you when you were in high school, like before, right? So like making that first age group record and then just rolling into the end of your freshman year. How did you handle like that going into your sophomore and upperclassmen years?
It it was so interesting, right? I think just given the person that I am and my personality, I am very outgoing. I'm a dreamer. I think in terms of big, what's the bigger picture, right?
Right,
I have this confidence in myself, um, and this belief. And if someone doesn't know me and they meet me for the first time and they get a sense of that, they might be alarmed at first, right? And so for me
right.
to arrive mid-year, right, and just immediately like, make like our national team essentially, right, was huge, right? I remember just being around like the other freshmen, right, and a lot of them, couldn't really like, you know, fathom, just the reality is like, oh, this guy is actually just operating at like a completely different level, right?
Yep.
And I think he's coming from South Africa too. I think we're taught from a young age, to just like I said, dream big and think big, right? Um, and I learned that also in the US, obviously, just given how the high school system is, right, really competitive, right? I feel like if swimming was high school swimming was as competitive in other countries as it is like in the US, I feel like there'd be so many more gains and breakthroughs, right, just around the world, right? And it's a testament to how developed America is, right? But I feel like for most swimmers, they arrive at college and it's like, okay, I have 4 years, right? And I'm gonna make these the best 4 years of my swimming career, and then I'm done, right? For me, I'm like, this is literally just a stepping stone, right?
Yep.
This is like I'm going to grow and improve as an athlete. And I'm like, Olympics, world champs, next Olympics, right? Just continuing to like bowl off of that, right? So I think having that mindset and the way that I viewed it and that perspective was definitely something that was different for a lot of people.
Mm.
Right. That first year, it was 2019, right, was a big year for me in my swimming career. And you understand why, just because um I competed at um the World Championships that summer and the University Games, right? And I actually qualified for the Tokyo Olympics at University Games, right?
Nice.
It
Yeah.
was it was just, I mean, it was like a breakout swim for me almost, right? It was my first competition as a senior, right? And um I think to obviously it was like swim an Olympic qualifying time. I think I was the first and only person on the team at the time, to have done that. It was just like, it was
Just it's kind of like that age group record that you broke, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
where it just kind of like pops off, and you're like, all right, let's keep this rolling, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I like what you said about how a lot of times, being from America and going through the process of high school swimming and focusing like all in on college swimming and having them, when in my era when it was, you know, like we were the first crew to swim in the new pool. So the new pool was a dream. Like that was like, a selling point as a recruit, right? And our
yeah,
senior year was the first year when we actually competed in it. And, my freshman year was Matt's first year as the women's head coach.
yeah,
So, it was pretty cool to see him do what he's done. And I think that your perspective of compared to like my perspective where it was like 4 years of college and then you're done and you're like there's a whole nother world of swimming beyond college is a stepping stone to kind of get you there. I think that has done a nice job at fostering that environment
yeah,
for athletes to see beyond, and that just kind of opens the potential of you guys to not just pigeonhole yourself as like, let's try and win, do something at NC2As and say, well, what's next?
Yeah,
There's no
no, exactly.
path, right? At the end of the day, it's the Olympics because the Olympics is the highest, it's the biggest meet out there. So
Yeah,
you got 4 years to, develop for that, and then you got another 4 years. So it's like, and that just keeps on going for however long you want.
yeah,
But to have a coach that's open minded enough to see beyond just the school, the school training and the school competition. Um, and what I really love too is, to see the relationship between coaches on, the swim coaches and then the strength coaches, because strength and conditioning has evolved so much since I've been there, and sports science is continuing to improve. And being able to come in and volunteer and help out with you guys for a little bit was nice because um, Greg's great. I think that he does a phenomenal job with you guys, and his mindset's in the right spot, and he collaborates with Matt on such a high level that I think that it's, in my opinion, one of the major reasons why Tennessee is now, consistently in that top 10 every year,
yeah,
top six this year. It was great to see the guys, finish at a high note compared to the last time they were that high. It was third in 2001, so that's a big deal.
yeah.
And to see that grow, the swimming and strength combination. Tell me a little bit about your experience with that.
Oh, wow, it's been amazing to see just the growth over the years. Um, just being like an international like athlete, right? I think when I was on the team, we maybe had like I want to say five, six internationals, whereas like nowadays, like more than half the team is
Mm-hmm.
international, right? Um, which just shows, obviously from a recruiting standpoint, right? And just being able to like bring in people at the same time, like ball swim and just Tennessee swimming in general has obviously been able to like grow on like a global level, right?
Exactly.
From that. And so that itself is just so huge, right? And obviously we want that to continue to just grow, right? Um, but it's oh my gosh, it's yeah, it's really cool. I'd say for me, one of the things that I feel like has been a very instrumental part in that is um just sort of the leadership and sort of relationships with people on the team too. Because obviously we touched a bit just about like obviously the coach's role in it, right? And just being able to like create an environment for the athletes to just, grow their mindset and then also just, like take care of like the physical side of it too, right? But I think um for me, just being far away from home, right, as a freshman, it's not easy, But I'm very thankful that I had people on the team, upperclassmen that
Mm-hmm.
were so supportive and so caring, right? Obviously they're like almost like just like older brothers essentially, right? They were making sure that
Yeah,
like, you know what, this guy, he's gonna take us somewhere. So we gotta make sure that he is like fully taken care of, that he's going in the right direction, right? And like I said, I'm so thankful for like those people in my life, right? And so I knew for me, especially like when I was an upperclassman, that's exactly how I was thinking. Because we had guys like Jordan Crooks, like Guy
yep,
Santos, right? And I was like, these guys are like the future, right? Um, and it's been so cool to see um, the steps that we've taken over the years, right? Because I remember, I mean, my freshman year, we were still talking about like, oh, we won. The goal is top 10, right? Consistently at NCAA's, right? But that's Rome isn't built in a day, right? It
yep.
takes a lot of work and consistency, right? Um, and it's just great to see it, finally coming together, right? And all the pieces falling into place, right? But for anyone who just looks at it and sees like, oh, it's great now, it's like, oh, we see the work that's been put in, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, the progress.
And I've been watching from afar. And I was in California for the 10 years, and I graduated my grad degree in 2000 December 2012, and during that time I was doing a lot of coaching with back when Tennessee Aquatics was Pilot Aquatics, and Jim Rumbaugh was the head coach, and he was a swimmer and coach for Tennessee, and I worked with him for a few years, and then got really involved with the community, the swimming community, because it's more than just the university, because you have the club, and then you have summer league, and you have high school, and it's not a big area, but it's a powerful area because there's a lot of people who are in the swimming community that want to see it grow, and
Yeah.
to see that happen on all levels is pretty cool. And then going out to California and coaching with, some high end coaches out there. Dave Kelsheimer is that, you,
Yeah.
Dave, yeah. And I worked with Jordan Wolomovsky and Britton Casey and a couple other high end swimmers, more on the distance side of things.
Yeah.
But I always kept on taking a look, when Fenwick came, and, the whole Fenwick era with Matt, and see like that grow. And then he stepped away and is doing his thing at Virginia now. And just to continue to see everything just evolve. Um, it's great, because it's really important, I know, to me and the alumni, that the program is in a healthy and a thriving position, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I think that is very much what's going on right now. And it comes from people, guys like you who come in and do their thing, and then you get put in a position where you are a natural leader, and then the experience grows, and then you become that older brother, and then now, even now, still being around the pool deck and kind of being around these guys, you're the vet who's doing big things, and they're kind of like, well, maybe seeking some advice from you, right? So that's awesome to see. So now, when you go from, oh man, I got some potential in this sport, to how do I find a home away from home? That's really important to me, to finding that home, and then having an explosive career that just kind of like takes you through the process of becoming underclassmen and then upperclassmen and everything you just explained, to now being the Mike Houlie show, where it's like, all right, now your life is, it was kind of, it's always been about your progression, but it was very much about, a team oriented situation. Now it's you for you, being a
Yeah.
pro, and how is that, you know, uh, landing in your mindset? How is everything going with that?
It's it's better now, right, than it was before, right? And I always say like, I just want to be better than I was yesterday, right?
Yep.
One day at a time. Um, and I feel like um especially now, I've definitely taken a lot more ownership over my training.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think just, those first couple months after, graduating and no longer being with the team, right? It's it's scary, because you're sort of, you have to be in control of everything, right? You don't necessarily have the same support group as before, right? And um I was constantly reminded, during those 4 or 5 years at Tennessee, that's the most support that I'll pretty much ever get in like my life, right? Just given how like college athletics is, right?
Yep.
Um, which is also just a testament to that, right? And that opportunity. And so I'd say it definitely took me some time, just to figure things out for myself. Um, right? Because um it's literally now about like, okay, how do we specialize, right? Obviously being on a team, right? Um, the goal is obviously to move forward as a group, right? And then there are obviously areas where, you can sort of specialize and have that individualization, right? But that's, I guess, only for, the athletes that are, in that sort of position or category, right? And I mean, luckily for me, I had always been in that position, just given that it's like, if you are one of the fastest guy in the team, then like I don't think anyone can like complain, about like saying, oh, he's getting special treatment. It's like, no, just, get faster, right? Just keep
Right.
like doing
Yeah.
that, right? So
It's talking the talk and then walking the walk at the same time,
yeah,
And now for you, I think the word specialize is key because maybe before it's all right, what can you do for the team to make the team better?
yeah,
Now it's like what can you do for Mike to help Mike reach his goals?
yeah,
And like that comes into, no matter how individual, workouts can get, as far as like when you're on the team, because I think that Matt and Greg do a nice job. And I know it's hard when you have so many swimmers
yeah,
to, to have them grouped in more specialized, you know, workouts specific to their main races, right? And
yeah,
now, like everything can be geared towards potentially one specific race, one or two specific races, that
yeah,
you're trying to blow up on when you go to Paris. See that positive, affirmation right there.
yeah,
When that happens, you're gonna be set up. So, you know, as a pro, and I think Matt talked to Greg about this, and I talked to Greg because I haven't been able to sit down and chat with Matt for a while. He's a busy guy, I know that's going on. But what I love, especially coming from a sports psych background, is how they create the element of play, like child's play, you know, and being on a team as a coach where it's like high performance team, focus, serious, and it's like you grow through the ranks, and even working with Jordan, Jordan, right?
yeah,
Well, like he was another guy who kind of just blew up later on in his career. It was 15, 16, he aligned with a coach that helped him, like, get to Open Nationals. And then, before you
yeah,
know, it just kind of happens. And because he's willing to work hard enough. But then, like, I remember when I got there, he was struggling with his turns. He was hitting his turns too low, and he was popping up too quick. And this is before Rio, and it was kind of like you go from this, I I've gotten here, thanks
yeah,
coach. I kind of want to protect what I've done. I don't want to change a whole lot because it's given me
yeah,
this amount of success, right?
yeah.
And then when you get run down for a medal and you get fourth instead of third, something switched, and he was like, "Whatever anyone has to help me get faster,
It's
uh,
like,
bring it." It was just like I'm an open book. You know what I mean? I'll
yeah,
stay out. So it's like being, allowing yourself to be that curious and open minded and like a child. And being a parent now, I can just see it. It
yeah,
just makes sense. And allowing yourself to fail and not getting discouraged about it, like in practice, or not like hitting a pace or not like getting something right away. But that whole environment, like as a pro, like do you still find yourself like living that?
um, yes, for sure. Um, and I think just having um that curiosity and that playfulness is so important, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always ways that you can learn and grow, right, as an athlete. I think just if you have the goal of being able to become like a master of anything, right? That is when you then, have that elite level of thinking, right?
Mhm.
It's not like, oh, I just want to be able to do this. Like you want to master it. And that really thinks like, wow, that is um that just shows obviously the amount of work that's going to go into that, um the amount of focus and detail that goes behind it too, right? um but at the same time you also don't want to lose the things that make you who you are,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And so as a pro, I've definitely had, you know, some challenges um where I've been really open to to what a lot of people have said, right? That's also just my personality, you know. I'm gonna like if someone, wants to help me, if someone has something to say or like wants to offer me their opinion, oh, 100% yeah. Because I'm like, you never know where it could literally just make a big difference, right? But then it's
Right.
also choosing whether or not that's gonna help you or not, right? I think some of the greatest athletes are obviously the ones that are able to adapt really quickly, right? And are that are also open to, constructive criticism, especially too, right? To be able to just take it and then, you know, like move forward, move on, right? And so I've always been like that, right? I've also, you know, it's I guess it's also just being like a team player, almost having that kind of mentality, right? Especially like if
Yeah,
you're on a college team. But obviously being as a professional, that's when you have to like, narrow it down, right? And really begin to like focus because it's the small things that make a big difference, right?
sure.
And then you obviously want to just work that over and over and over again. And then it also goes back to what you said about, also just not giving up, right? Like I've had many, many um, just opportunities and results and moments where I got feedback from like races as a pro. And, it's literally just about like, okay, how do I like move forward now? How do I keep going, right? I've had
Mhm.
moments where, it's been good. Like I'll be honest with you, at my Olympic trials, I swam the 50 breast, fastest 50 breast I've swum in 2 years, right? Very positive. But at the same time, I wasn't fully satisfied because I know I can go faster,
Yep.
right? But then
Yeah.
it's like, literally, we could whatever I'm doing, it's working. So let's just keep doing it. What I did in my 100 was I gave it my best shot and I didn't perform the way that I wanted to. But at the same time, I was like, okay, let's literally just, go back to the drawing board, right? We keep going, right? We don't give up. Obviously, you're trying to identify and assess it from like a logical standpoint too, right? Be like, okay, let's pick one thing as opposed to like changing you
The
know,
whole thing.
the whole
Well,
thing, right?
but that's the beauty of it, right? Because like if you can live in that mentality, which I dabbled in and out of that. So like I think Joe Whitney is phenomenal. I think that like
Oh,
he,
he's so
if
cool.
for those of you who are watching this, if you're watching this and you're somebody UT, Joe Whitney, man, just use him. He's because it's something that is there for you, but maybe not be. A lot of people don't capitalize on it, and if you can get to that spot where early that you just explained of going back to the lab and just tweaking things, and make it. If you have a great race and it's the fastest one you ever done, great. But how do you get faster?
Yeah,
You know, and if you have one's a little bit off, great. How do you get faster? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like so, it's like, and that's what people like. Even like Gen Pop that I work with don't even really comprehend is like somebody just won an Olympic gold medal like Caleb Dressel and he's like I didn't hit that turn.
yeah. No,
I
exactly.
could hit that turn a little better, and he just breaks record and wins the gold medal Olympics, and it's like
Yeah,
so. No matter what, it's always maybe like there's never ever going to be a perfect race, that is just like absolutely perfect. Now, Jason Lezak running down at the end of the 4 free relay
yeah,
was pretty. I'd say that would be the one race that I was kind of like, there's no way, and then it
yeah.
just all lines up. But there's never any perfect race because there's always a way to get faster, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
always
exactly.
it's like Bruce Lee talking about moving like
Oh
water,
my,
like
yeah. Oh my
and
gosh. That's one of my quotes, man. Oh,
move like water, yeah. So because it's
I
like
love that one.
you do well, great. Let's move around. Let's try and get better. You struggle a little bit, cool. Let's move around. Let's try and get better. And you just
Yeah.
do that until you're ready to move on into something else, and then you can step away and start doing that, applying that same mentality into whatever it is you do
Yeah.
in life, you know. And I feel like that's important. So I'm pumped that A, it's a part of the culture, and B, it's instilled in you because you got a lot coming your way. You got a lot of races coming your way, and it's gonna be fun to see you
Yeah.
take it to that next level and continuing to evolve. You know,
Exactly. The one thing I'll say is, and like, um I listen to a lot of like Kobe videos, man. They always pop up on like my feed, right? And I remember just the one time he said it's like, you know, regardless of like what the outcome is of like this game, it's like, the sun's gonna set and the sun's gonna rise, the next morning, right?
mm-hmm.
So just being able to like treat, the sport in that way too. It's like, you know, if I swim a race and I go a fast time, it's like, okay, sure, that's great. But like I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do the same thing tomorrow. I'm gonna keep
Yeah,
going after it. If I have like a bad race, and like I also people like think in terms of good and bad, it should more be like good and learning, right? Or literally just like a growing experience, right? If I have a race that, you know, didn't go the way that I wanted, I'm still literally gonna wake up the next morning and then I'm gonna get after it. Um, and I think that's where, you know, people people think that it's just all, smooth sailing, right? But it's literally, when you are in the valley, right? That is where like you make the most growth, right? As opposed
for
to
sure.
being top of the mountain, man. It's literally just having that perspective. It makes a huge difference.
It really does, because then it's like when you're in that valley, you can get more out. You collect the 1% in that valley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I use. I'm stupid sometimes. I'll use like the comparison of Mario. You're playing. You're
Oh,
playing
Mario, yeah.
Mario, and you have a level,
Uh,
and you have these little unknown boxes that you got to kind of use to get something to help you get to that level.
yeah.
And then you fail, you go back, and then you figure it out and you pass that level, and then you move on to the next one. But there's always a challenge. There's also always little things that can help you on the way if you figure out how to use them.
Yeah.
And you just keep on going until you rescue that princess, man.
Yeah.
And but like cool, man. Do you have? I don't want to take up too much of your time. This is awesome, and I appreciate you doing this. But do you have anything else that you like to say about kind of your journey and where you're headed and what's on the horizon for you?
Oh, I mean, if I could just pick like, I guess the most important thing is, um,
For you,
obviously,
for you, not even for anybody else, but like for you. Like what is it for you that's gonna take you there?
I think, um, I'd speak about gratitude,
Yep.
right? And just the effects of gratitude. Um, you know, my journey has been an absolute roller coaster. Um, and swimming has been able to take me, to so many places. I've been able to meet so many people and experience so much, right? And I'm so grateful for that. Um, I'm also just grateful for, you know, my support team and my circle, right? There's so many people that have invested so much time into helping me get to where I want to go, right? And, you know, whether I get there, whether I don't, I think just being able to, appreciate those people, like my family, for example, right? The
Mm-hmm.
amount of sacrifices that they had to, you know, go through in order, for me to literally just be able to like train, and get like a swimsuit and goggles, something like that, for example, you know. Right. I can even talk about like my faith, right? And that journey, right? And everything that I do is literally just for the glory of God, right? And just being able to persevere, right, when times get tough and to seek refuge in him, right? But just being grateful for literally all these opportunities and for all the people that have helped me along the way, right? It's just it's amazing, you know. And in itself, just being able to like chase my dreams, right?
Mhm.
Like being able to chase this Paris 2024 dream is that's it right there, you know. That's literally like I'm already winning in that sense,
Very
right?
winning, man. You're living it, dude. It's awesome, and I'm pumped for you. And I'm glad to get to know you a little bit better. And I'm excited to see the great things that you're going to be doing here in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Thanks, man. Let me just